Alright guys, take a look at this study guide, okay? We're probably going to have the quiz on Friday, right? If we can meet in person, right? If not, right, we're just going to do the quiz, the test on Monday, right? Take a look at my study guide, okay? You can see there, right, 5 characteristics of civilization and the urban revolution. That was on the first PowerPoint. Right, advanced cities, institutions, specialized workers, technology, obviously. And remember the key thing, right? Record keeping, right? That's the key thing. What happened during the agricultural revolution, also known as the Neolithic, right? That's just the start, right? That's just the start of agriculture. Right? That's all that really means, right? There was domestication of animals, right? People had a surplus of food, right? And remember, women, right, were weaving clothing, right? They were using food crops to make clothing. Religion and the caste system, right? That's about Hinduism, right? It was a social hierarchy. You can only move up or down, right, based on karma, if you had good or bad karma. And remember, it's the Aryans who create this system, right? And they want to do this to control the local native population. Difference between a primary and secondary source, right? Primary, it has to be written in that time period. For example, a letter, right? Someone lived through this time period, they wrote a letter, right? That's a primary source. Okay, secondary source, right? That's like a textbook, right? People are writing about a time period or a historical event much later on in the future, right? Or they write books about World War II, right? And they didn't live through it, right? That's a secondary source. Compare dynasty, empire, city-state, kingdom, and autocracy, right? Remember, dynasty, right? Power is passed down to sons, right? Rule stays within the same family, and it's passed down to the eldest son, right? Empire, right? For example, Persia, right? Persia, several people or nations, right, where one ruler rules, right? Emperor, right? That's, remember, like we said, like Persia, right? Remember, dynasty, right? That was China, right? That's the Qin dynasty for dynasty. City-state, right? City that is independent, right? It's its own country, but it's a city. It's the size of a city, right? And here we got some examples. Uruk, Lagash, right? Babylon, the famous city of Babylon, right? That's a city-state. A kingdom, right? Ruled by a king, right? That should be straightforward, right? Ruled by a king, just like Egypt, right? Egypt was also a theocracy. You can see this word written here, right? They were a kingdom that was a theocracy, right? The pharaoh was a king, but he was also a religious leader, right? And in a theocracy, the religious leaders are in charge, right? And then you have autocracy, okay? That's over here, right? Unlimited power, right? The ruler is essentially a dictatorship, right? That was in the Qin dynasty as well, in China, right? Shi Hongdi could do whatever he wanted. Whatever he said was the law, right? Okay. Indo-Europeans, where did they live? Right? Persia, Anatolia, right? Middle East, right? Originally, remember, they come from the Asian steppes, right? Remember, Asian steppes. Then they move to these places, right, when they quit being nomads. But in the beginning, they are nomads. They're hunter-gatherers, right? That's their culture. Aryans, right, they move into India. They were originally Indo-Europeans, right? They introduced the caste system, right, in Hinduism to control people, right? Their culture was hell-bent on controlling, right, the local native population in India. Sumerians, right, they lived in Mesopotamia, city-states like Ur and Uruk. Part of their culture was a polytheistic religion, right, and a theocracy, right? Priests were in charge. They ruled, right? And their culture also created cuneiform writing. Then you have the Egyptians, theocracy government, right? The pharaoh is king, but he's a religious leader, right? The religion is polytheistic, right? Many gods, They believe in mummification when somebody dies. And remember, they develop hieroglyphs, right? Hieroglyphics. Israelites, monotheistic, one religion, right? In Israel and Canaan, right? That's where they live. Persian, right? They live in Persia, right? Obviously, the Persians live in Persia. They're monotheistic, right? Zoroastrianism, they have an empire, and they were tolerant, right? Especially Cyrus. Qin Dynasty, we went through that, right? Autocracy, they're in China, right? Their religion and their culture, though, remember in ancient China, Taoism and Confucianism. And then for the Nubians in the kingdom of Kush, they just borrowed Egyptian culture, right? Hinduism, right? The gods are their founders. They believe in karma, reincarnation. Buddhism, the Buddha is the founder. They believe in reaching enlightenment, right? And that all life is suffering. Remember, and only the Buddha and Buddhism can rid you of your suffering. Abraham is the founder of Judaism. They believe in one God. Confucianism, Confucius is the founder. Believes mostly in relationships, right? The 5 basic relationships. That's how you keep harmony and social order, but also laws, right? Legality. In Taoism, the founder is Lao Tzu. He believes in nature, the balance in nature, right? Harmony in nature. But it's always that humans ruin it, remember? Zoroaster is the founder of Zoroastrianism, right? And all life is a battle between good and evil, right? That's the key teaching in Zoroastrianism. You have some of these vocab. I'm going to go through these very quickly. So I got to rush through this so that my video works, so that when it uploads to YouTube. Right? Homo sapiens, right? A human species. Culture, just a way of life. Right? Nirvana, right? That's Buddhist enlightenment. Moksha is when you reach complete understanding. You don't have to keep being reincarnated. You should know what the caste system is already. Theocracy, rule based on religious authority. You should know what karma is already. Right? Reincarnation, right? That's related to karma. Right? The cycle of death and rebirth in Hinduism. Monotheism, one God. Polytheism, many gods. Hominid, right? Any human ancestor. Nomads, people who move from place to place. Artifacts, anything made by humans. Cuneiform, Sumerian writing, right? It's the oldest form of writing on clay tablets. Remember that. Ziggurat, right? Those are those pyramid-looking things that are Mesopotamian temples. Pharaohs are religious leaders in Egypt. Pyramids are just big, fancy Egyptian tombs. A delta, right, is the wide open end of rivers, right? Usually marshy terrain, right? Especially in case of the Nile. Domestication, right? Humans used animals. They domesticated them to have a readily supply of meat, right? Like wild boars into pigs. Institutions, right? Long-lasting patterns of organization, right? Like churches, like government buildings, right? Like colleges and universities, right? Those are long-lasting patterns of organization. And papyrus, right? Ancient paper, right? Used in Egypt. Rosetta Stone, right? That's what helped us decipher hieroglyphs, right? Remember, Napoleon discovers that. The Vedas, right? They're Hindu texts written in the ancient Sanskrit language. Otzi the Iceman, right? A Neolithic man found in the Italian Alps, right? He was able to tell us how human people used to live, right, thousands of years ago, by what they found on him and in him. Hammurabi, right, he's from Babylon. He's the king of Babylon. Remember, he writes the first code of law, right, Hammurabi's code. Right, the Buddha, right, with his original name here, Siddhartha Gautama, he's the Indian prince who creates Buddhism when he reaches enlightenment. Abraham, right, he's from the city of Ur. He goes to Cana, right, and he starts Judaism. Moses, right, you should know that. Confucius, right, he's Chinese, he's from China, right, remember, he highlights the importance of relationships. Ramses is the Egyptian pharaoh during the New Kingdom, and Cyrus is the Persian emperor who was tolerant and respected diversity. right? When he conquered people, he still conquered them, right? But he was tolerant. The map, right? You already did that, so you gotta study the map that you turned in for credit, right? Make sure you know how to label all of these, right? So study the map that you turned in for that. Last little bit, right? What's the difference between history and prehistory? Well, writing, right? Prehistory is when writing was not invented yet, right? Anything before the invention of writing, right, is prehistory. History has to be written down, right? That's the main difference. Let's go down here, okay? Connection between karma and reincarnation, right? Remember, there's good and bad karma, right? That affects how you will be reincarnated. Are you going to move up, right, if you have enough good karma, or are you going to move down, right? That's related to the caste system, right? That gives people hope, right? That if they have good enough karma, then they can move up in the caste system, right? It reinforces the caste system, right? Because people also don't want to accumulate enough bad karma, right, and move down, right, or be reincarnated into something that isn't human. The Indo-European, remember, they came from the Asian steppes, right? Their most lasting contribution was language. Remember that tree, that family tree of modern-day languages, right? There's so many languages today that originally come from the original Indo-European language, right? But the reason for that is they were originally nomads, right? And they settled all over the world, right? But remember, the lasting contribution, right, is language. And then, let's see this one. Cause and effect of food surpluses, right? In order for there to be civilization, remember, there needs to be a food surplus first, okay? Because of more food, right, you don't have to just be worried about feeding your family, right? You can trade it. You can make money, right? Remember, that took place during the agricultural revolution, right? Created farms, right? And then because of the surplus, people didn't have to necessarily focus on agriculture, right, primarily. Right? They could focus on other things, right? They could focus on their settlement that they were building, right? Because they were no longer nomads, okay? So in order to have civilization, right, this key thing here, you need to have a food surplus, right? That's the effect of a food surplus, right? The cause is that people aren't nomads anymore. They are taking part in the agricultural revolution, okay? All right, so make sure you go over that study guide, right? Watch this video, go over it, and most likely we're going to have the test on Monday, but at least you have a video of the study guide that you can use to review. Okay, I'll see you guys hopefully